I wish they had a countdown of 3, 2, 1, but here we are. We're live. Everybody, welcome back to the Copy Corner with your host, Terry Schilling, and someone who's been missing from the past few episodes in a while. Go ahead, reintroduce yourself, my friend.
Damn Arzulo, we're back.
Yeah, man, we're back. It's been a minute. We did some past episodes where I brought on some other guests to the show, but we're very happy that everybody is tuning in. We know the hundreds, thousands of you tuning in, but no, we're happy to be back. Come up with some really great topics to talk about. If this is your first time checking out the Copy Corner, this is a copywriting and marketing podcast where we share tips, insights, case studies. We do bring on guests to help you sell and write smarter. And today we're focusing really on the business side of things, uh, growing your freelance business. And really the question that we're going to answer is what's one thing that helped you scale your freelance writing business in today's episode? So let's jump right into it, Dan. What would you say is the one thing that helped you scale?
Yeah, Terry, sure thing. I think the most important thing was, developing a repeatable, scalable lead gen process, right?
Okay.
Finding a way that works to get clients and going all in on that, optimizing it and scaling it to the capacity that you can with that channel and making it repeatable so that when you need new business or you want to grow, you just run the play, right? You do that same thing
Yeah.
to bring in the new business. I think a lot of early freelancers, consultants, they just kind of try to throw spaghetti at the wall. They'll try this on Monday, that on Tuesday, and they just kind of all over the place with their client acquisition strategy. And then they kind of get nowhere because it's not repeatable. They haven't found something that worked that they can do over and over to grow the business. So that's kind of my
Yeah.
biggest advice for this one, Terry.
Yeah. Well, I'm curious too, Dan. What does some of that lead generation process look for you? Because I'm sure like you said, you probably went through your phases of throwing spaghetti on the wall and
Yeah,
seeing
right.
and offering different things. But what kind of changed for you, and where do you spend the time of getting leads?
Yeah, for sure. And like you said, I think right at first you got to figure out, well, what's going to work, right? Test out some different channels. And then once you find something that works,
Yeah.
scale it and grow it. For me, that's been cold email, right? Like building an
Okay.
email funnel strategy and just running that and putting new people into that funnel every week. That's been kind of the most effective thing for me. Before a lot of that was LinkedIn. And then with the new LinkedIn limits and everything that they're cracking down on, that's not
Hmm.
as viable as a channel for me anymore. So I've really focused on just scaling up my email strategy.
Yeah. No, good idea. And you and I were mentioning this a little bit before we hit recorded, and it's just like a lot of times we spend time on one avenue, right, and it's working well, and then we just feel like we can jump to another and make it work for us. But you were saying working with your business coach, it just really helped you focus on one thing that you do well and just put and even invest more time and energy in that.
Absolutely. That's, and I think even knowing that you tend to go, oh, this is kind of working. Let's explore some other things. And that's something he's really helped me refocus in on is like, hey, really get this channel to where it's saturated first before you start exploring other options and,
Yeah,
and channels for sure. But what about you, Terry? What's kind of your
absolutely.
biggest
Yeah.
advice here?
Yeah, great advice there, Dan. And for me, the thing, like, even when I started, I was on, Elance before it was Upwork, so then still getting things on Upwork, and that's not the answer to my question. Is like the thing that helped scale my business. It was really just investing time and energy in my resources into creating content. And we talked about I was just trying to see what stuck with people and what I enjoyed doing, what made sense within my time, and what was getting some ROI and bringing in leads. And just the more consistent I got on really creating content on LinkedIn and then even on Twitter, like those two channels I spend a lot of time on. And that's just really helped get my name out there and people see me. I like consistently found topics that I enjoy and then I know what I'm talking about. And I'm just thinking, like, who's my target audience? Who can this advice help? Whether that's they get something free from me, which is great. They can use that in their business and in their marketing. But then when they're ready to even take on a bigger project, who will they think of? I want them to think of me because I've been out there and I've been creating all this content. So having that consistent content strategy where I want to post, different copywriting tips or try different new theme ideas throughout on LinkedIn, Twitter, do some carousel post, maybe on Instagram too. Just where I can spend my time the best and not feel completely burned out, right? But I think just creating content and like putting myself out there on video and doing some, photos and creating those things really is what helped me compared to like trying to get all these cold emails, trying to go to these job board sites. I think what really flipped the script for me was creating that, free content. And that just helped me bring in some inbound leads that way. Really was. And which in turn flipped around and like helped me grow a community. I think that's one thing both of us can attest to, Dan. Like one other thing that can help you scale is just investing in a community, whether you pay for like a paid writing group or whether you just join some Facebook groups or Slack groups and or just engage with like Twitter chats on Twitter or something like that. But I think the more people you meet in the freelance community, the more you realize people start out where you are, people are willing to help, and there's a lot of resources out there too.
Yeah, for sure. And you've been a perfect example of a heck of a community builder, Terry. I mean, for all those listening, go check out your Facebook group. I mean, you've been growing that. You're getting a lot of
Appreciate it.
traction and eyeballs. And so, yeah, if anybody
Yeah.
goes to any of your channels, they'll see that you're practicing that in every way for sure.
Yeah, I try to include people and have some fun with it. Got the newsletter too, but yeah, it's such helpful and actionable advice too of just getting yourself out there. Real quick, Dan, because we are going live. I know you have people listening to the audio and they recorded for the podcast. We are live on LinkedIn and YouTube, so we had some questions come up
Oh,
actually on
awesome.
LinkedIn. We have Marcus Lorang watching in. What's up, Marcus? Can you repeat about the LinkedIn limits that you talked about? Because you said you
Yeah.
recently switched from LinkedIn. Yeah, I'm curious about that too.
Yeah, no, this is a great question, Marcus. So I'll have to find an article to link to these exact limits, but they cracked down, oh man, probably 4 months ago now. Before, you could send several connection requests every single day. Now they've capped it, and they might have even lowered this even more since I've found out about this. But
Mm,
before it was you couldn't send more than 100 connection requests a week. So they were really throttling that because a lot of people are just getting spammed all these connection requests. So LinkedIn was trying to find a way to filter that for quality.
yeah,
So you really the number of people that you can reach out to isn't really unlimited anymore, right? Which is why for me as a channel, I've kind of leaned more into cold email because you can go higher volume and reach out to a lot more people without having those same limits. So that was kind of a huge mix up for LinkedIn, I'd say about 4 months ago, where they said, hey, we're going to cap you at this. And once you go over that, we're not going to let you send any more connection requests until the week restarts. So that's what happened there.
yeah. And I'm curious, what do you use a tool to like gather emails from like the internet and from people from like reliable like even leads like when you do cold email?
Yeah, so not anymore. I used to use some different software to help kind of enrich data, but at this point, it's finding a list of prospects
Yeah,
and then using some freelancers on Upwork or some place like that to go out and do the research and find the contact info
cool.
for each of those individuals. So kind of building those lists with people like that.
Gotcha. Okay, awesome. Marcus chiming back. Thanks, guys. Compliance is important. Appreciate your help. No,
For sure. Yeah.
yeah, Marcus,
Great
thanks for tuning
question.
in and watching along. Yeah, awesome. Great advice, especially just with the lead generation. A lot of us talk about is cold email. Should I be doing that? And I think it's still, super reliable. And I think when you're doing that, just don't come in and ask a question right away of just like, hey, can you hire me? Are you looking for freelancers? Like, I would just, if you go in that approach, like have a connection already in place there where like you talked to them before, but you flatter them first. Talk to them about something maybe that like, hey, I noticed your website. I really liked what you did here. I saw your video. Just real quick too, Dan, like what would be some advice when you're reaching out for cold emails?
Yeah, keep it super short, right? People are, I mean,
Yeah,
you get bombarded in the inbox, right? So don't come up with some super elaborate essay that they're just going to delete. Keep it short and show credibility, like right out of the bat. If you can say, hey, I've worked with X, Y, and Z, we've helped them do X, Y, and Z, that's going to catch their attention and go, oh man, all right, credibility, cool. Who is this guy, Dan? Let's see what he has to say. Let's jump on a call, right? So if you can
yeah,
keep it short, establish credibility, and you're offering something that they need, right? They're going to get on a call with you and see if you can help them. So that's kind of my biggest thought
yeah.
there.
Okay, awesome advice. Got one more question coming in, everybody. This is great. This is great for all the listeners and watchers there. Poria Basmara. Hopefully, I said your name somewhat correctly. If I didn't, I apologize. But Hey guys, could you share some insights into overcoming procrastination? That's something I guess many freelancers experience. Yeah, I'd say 100%. We all experience procrastination of, oh, I have time. I can get this done. The client isn't emailing me right now. Maybe I have a little bit more time. Um, I don't know, Dan, what would you say? Help overcome procrastination.
Yeah, the first thing that comes to my mind on this is, reverse engineer. Well, why are you procrastinating, right? Usually,
Mm,
in my mind, if you're procrastinating, it's because you don't want to do something because you don't enjoy that type of work, right? So figure out, why do I not want to do
mm,
this first, and then figure out what you need to do to overcome that. Because that's kind of been my experience. If there's something that I'm not excited about, it usually means I need to shift something in my business because I'm either not passionate about that component and I need to outsource it, or it's something that we need to eliminate altogether. So for me, if you're not fired up and excited to tackle it, you're not into it, which means you need to make a change there. That would be my thought. What about
yeah.
you, Terry?
Oh man. I feel like I can't give a better answer than that, to be honest, because I really like that of reverse engineering it, something that even I'll try. I'll tap into something too of just really looking to measure where you have the most energy throughout the day. And I have to admit, this is something that came and more enlightened to me from my wife Selena, who has really like tracked of like times in the day of when she feels that like she has the most like energy to complete a task. So the morning she may have less time, but she'll have more energy. So she'll look into doing it there. Cause I just feel like sometimes in the morning I'll accomplish something by writing in my journal and then feel like I'll have a little bit more time then to reward myself to do something else. And so then I
Yeah.
just other tasks will just get on the back burner and then just feel like, oh, I'll get it done later. So just trying to focus on where you have the energy in your day to get like a specific task done. And even if it's working on it for like 40 minutes and you feel like you accomplished something big as like a part of like a project, and then you can maybe take a break, then approach it tomorrow, the next day, instead of just trying to pile it all on at one point in time as well. But I think that would be
Yeah.
my that would be my best advice
No, that's great,
there.
Terry. I like that one too, for
Yeah.
sure.
Man, we are getting a lot of questions on LinkedIn here. We
This
got
is
another one
awesome.
from Landoff. This is so yeah. Hi guys, how do you provide value to your target audience with your content? Personally, how do you showcase your expertise while providing insane value? Good question, Landoff. Dan, I can
Yeah,
start
go
with this
ahead.
one because this is a
Sure.
little bit more about like it kind of feels more aligned with what I talked about with the content
Mm-hmm.
strategy. Um, how do you provide value to your target audience with your content? I think the biggest thing is remembering what's in it for them and what problem like are they like seeking to solve. And so a big part of that, even before you think about like writing something, is doing some listening of like who your audience is. Looking at like, all right, what type of service can I offer? Like for me, I offer website copy. So I look at what problems and what people are struggling with from copywriting standpoint. So I could be like, here's 4 formulas to write a headline for your website or for your landing page. Like here's advice of how to add testimonials to your website. Things like that that can help them get value where they can just read that right away. It's actionable. Maybe it's one small quick, like tweak that they can make on their website. But the key is really just listening and, ahead of time of figuring out like what they need help with and then how you can, deliver that, with your content. And don't just make it like all about yourself. Just have some empathy for them too with it and just how, that you can help them. And yeah, I would just say that and like personally showcase your expertise. You could start with something of like, I've written over 200 websites in the past year. Here's one thing I see that like help get, you know, high converting headlines. Like, and that just gives like back and shows like your value or I guess your expertise that you've done this. It's giving some social proof as well. Maybe start with a testimonial from a client. Client said this about their website. Here's 3 things that we did on their project that helped them get, 10 new leads, something like that. And other people can find that valuable as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, that'd be what way I answer that. Anything else you'd like to say there, Dan?
Yeah, pretty much just playing off your thing, Terry, is like it's going to be value. What questions are your audience asking that you're answering, right? That's how it's going to be most valuable. Is if I'm trying to learn something and get information about something and you answer those questions, to me, that's going to be incredibly valuable. But to the next
Yeah.
guy who already knows those things or isn't searching for help on that, that's not going to be as valuable to them, right? So knowing your audience, like you said, Terry, and figuring out what questions are they asking. If I'm a homeowner trying to keep my sod alive, and I'm looking and finding
Yeah.
landscapers that are saying, you know, water it more or whatever, to me, that's going to be incredibly valuable because you just helped me solve my problem. But to the next guy who already knows that, that's not valuable content, but they're not your audience. So that's kind of my 2 cents on this one.
Yeah, yeah, no, absolutely. Oh, cool. Landoff, thanks for the question. Andre just asked kind of a follow up with that. Any social media groups or where we can find those problems to solve with our free content, specifically for copywriting? Um, I'll plug mine, the Copy Co-op, Andre. If you go on there, you can ask questions there. There's some Slack groups. If you can just research articles of like top marketing, copywriting Slack groups that you can go into. Like one thing that I like is like look up topics on like YouTube. Like if you're writing a certain subject, find some of those top videos from those creators of like asking questions and answering them in their video, and look at comments, because a lot of people like those ones that get a lot of views, they'll have a lot of comments and they'll have people then really just chime in and ask questions like, hey, could you do a video on this? Or they'll say, this is such a helpful topic because I've been struggling with XYZ. And like there, if you listen to those comments, then you can really like flip around and start creating content really that way, just answering a simple question on that. Um, but any other
Yeah.
specific groups, maybe Dan, that you can think of?
The thing that comes to my mind for this would be use Google, right? If you go in and you search out some kind of question around this topic, scroll to the bottom right where it says
Mm.
related searches, and it'll show you all the other top
Oh, good idea.
questions around that people are actually searching according to Google, right? Which have the highest volumes and search terms. So I would use that too to
Yeah.
get some ideas. If, you know, going back to my sod example, you know, how
Mm.
often to water your sod, scroll to the bottom and see what other questions people are asking around
Yeah.
sod, and then build content around that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And if you go on Twitter, and even if you type in the hashtag like marketing Twitter, or just look up a variety of different chats and Twitter spaces there in the marketing space, like around content. There's like freelance chat every Thursdays. Um, there's pop chat, which talks about pop culture and marketing on Fridays at noon Central Time. That's really great to get involved in. Those are two big ones that I would highly recommend on Twitter to kind of gauge what other problems that they're struggling with, and everything like that. Um, but
Yeah, that's
yeah, so
awesome.
Andre, thanks. Landoff, awesome guys. Thanks for the inspiration. And then he said, answer the public is also a gold mine. Yeah, that's a
Yeah,
really good
definitely.
resource. That's free. I think you can only do a certain amount of searches a week or maybe a day. I forget, but
Yeah, I don't
it is
remember.
really good because it does show up like top searching questions and phrases that you can use. Like if you look up like website copywriting, they like break it down of like how to questions, why, what, um, whenever I'm like starting an article and just want like some basic foundation and research, I start with answer the public majority of the time just to get some gauge of what people are searching for. So yeah,
Yeah,
Landoff, thanks.
great
Thanks so
tool.
much. Andre, thanks, Terry. And Dan, of course. Yeah. So great. Andre, yeah, appreciate it, man. And yeah, let's wrap it up there. Approaching 20 minutes on this topic. I love how it turned into multiple questions and things that
Yeah, it
we
was
could talk
awesome.
about. So, and all these can really help you scale your freelance business, is which the topic was today. That one thing that helped, Dan and I scale. Hopefully, this is inspiring, motivating for everybody watching and listening along. Um, but yeah, thanks everybody. Anything else, Dan?
No, that's it. Thanks everybody for tuning in and all the awesome questions today. It was great to get to riff on that.
Yeah, yeah, appreciate it. If you guys listening on the podcast, we are really search it, Copy Corner again wherever you listen. Find us on Apple, rate us, review us, and I think on Spotify you can start doing that now. So anytime you guys can spread the love and let us know what you think, we really appreciate it. But we're going to be having some guests lined up for the show. So kind of a new format with the Copy Corner moving forward. We're going to have some fun and with everything. And again, we appreciate everybody listening. So yeah, guys, have a good day. Talk to you soon.